we're going to talk about data warehousing and BI. So now we're really starting to get into finally like, all right, you're a data scientist. Like this is stuff that should be your bread and butter. Like this is it's more like data analytics, but you should be capable of working in these systems. So a data warehouse is a specific piece of infrastructure that provides data consumers, such as analysts and data scientists, with access to data that has been shaped to conform to business rules, and it should be stored in a format that's like easy to get to. So often that means easy to query. The data warehouse will typically connect information from multiple underlying like source of truth transactional databases. The contents of the data warehouse have been restructured for speed and ease of querying. So once again, like you could be using partitioning, indexing, like simplifying tables through denormalization to decrease the complexity of table joins. All of those are strategies that like increase speed to insight from a data warehouse tool. And then we should also be familiar with business intelligence, and that refers to any tool that's used to provide a report or a dashboard. So that could be, you make your charts in Excel, like now it's a business intelligence tool. Or, dashboarding, often Power BI is the Microsoft version, or Tableau is a really powerful platform. And as students, you should be able to get free access to Tableau. So I really encourage you to do that. Start messing around with data. Like take your like transaction history from your credit card over the last 6 months and like turn that into a dashboard. You might learn something about how you're spending your money, and it'll also help you to like grasp the fundamentals of one of these platforms that's like really powerful. And it's not technically data science because you're not modeling, you're not doing statistical modeling, you're not coding, but it's still like if you can just pop data quickly into Tableau and spit out a quick dashboard, like, or even like just a single chart, like sometimes that's faster and easier than going to Plotly. So it just should be another tool in your toolkit, basically. All right, so I like this quote. Rob Colley, he works as an independent consultant in helping organizations improve their business intelligence. He warns that the only sins that ever get addressed are those that interrupt the flow of money. So this is kind of an anti-pattern that a lot of organizations deal with. It highlights the fact that like when you're doing business intelligence, you might reveal some problems that haven't been addressed yet, because they're not like obviously blocking sales and they're not like impacting the direct customer experience. So BI is, I think, a really powerful way, like inadvertently, it will reveal a lot of data quality issues. And just because a data quality issue isn't interrupting the direct flow of money from the customer into the organization, that doesn't mean that that data quality issue isn't impacting the organization's strategic objectives. So this is why I think data warehousing and business intelligence are critical to the overall end-to-end data strategy process, because like you can't jump into data science until you have a strong foundation in the data warehouse. And that's why any kind of data quality improvements will flow into more effective advanced analytics like data science. All right. Don't want to spend too much time on this slide. Hopefully somebody else will be helping you to set up the data warehouse. But it's very important to design it in such a way that you're having frequent interactions with the stakeholders, like getting feedback, like hopefully the engineers are like talking to the analysts about what information is needed and how it will be presented. And they'll use that to design an effective data warehouse storage system. With business intelligence, similarly, I recommend starting small and continually seeking feedback. So the last slide mentioned the agile methodology. That's useful because it has like these 2-week cycles built in. It's very formulaic and it requires feedback touch points with stakeholders. So it's certainly by no means the only way to structure your work, but it can be effective as a tool for ensuring rigor in communications with the end users and making sure that you prioritize their needs in the beautiful dashboards that you're developing. Okay, so that's it. This element of the Aiken data framework is towards the top because it's like starting to move into higher level activities where we're generating insight for the organization. And yeah, and where you guys will really shine in your jobs is, you know, this top pyramid, the advanced analytics and machine learning that might be just one step more complicated than just spitting out some like summary statistics in a report. But again, it helps to at least, you know, at least be aware of these tools and be able to access them as needed. Okay, great. So we covered all 6 areas. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Hey, Nicole, I have a question. It's a really nice presentation. I like how it's like covers the holistic view of the data process, and a lot of things that most people don't think about on a regular basis if they're just working on one aspect of it. My question is, looks like you've worked in multiple of those sectors. How was your experience working in different aspect of that whole process? And what did you like about each of them, or all the ones that you worked in?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I would say that like actually my experience in my last job, you know, as I mentioned, I did data science for 6 months. And then I think I did like some data quality and data governance work. I have never done like the data architecture or modeling. Thankfully, I did work. I like served as a like a project manager for a SQL engineer, and she was, you know, great at like pulling these models together. So I can really only speak to like like having worked in the fields that I mentioned and also like studied for this exam, like having like read or at least skimmed that like big 60 or 600 page book. But I will say, like, there's something very special about doing data science. Like, it's really fun to say, oh, here's a pile of, you know, big data, and we're going to build a tool. That's the part that I liked the best. Build a tool that uses the data and then a layer of like statistics on top of it to turn that into something meaningful. So yes, so that was something that I really enjoyed about data science. I also really like building Tableau dashboards, but I tried to keep that secret because I was always concerned that if people found out that I knew how to do that, then I would spend too much time on it, if that makes sense. And like when you're a data scientist, like you really want to be coding and you want to be working with Python and not like working with a dashboard. So like I actually tried to keep it a secret and I tried not to have that platform installed on my computer. So just I know I like said, "Oh, you should be able to use it." But you need to think about how that's going to impact your like day-to-day work that gets allocated to you. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So anyway, so those are my thoughts on this like business intelligence component is like useful, but again, division of labor. And then with data quality and data governance, like it was challenging to say the least from a patient standpoint. But that's yeah, it's interesting, but I will just also caveat that I'm no longer doing that work anymore. So that's been my experience. Data science is definitely where it's at. So you guys are in the right field, in the right place.
Thank you.
Yeah, no
Any
problem.
any other questions?
Question on the cert that was mentioned.
Yes, I will skip ahead, show a slide. I don't know, Murat, how firm we are on ending right at the top of the hour.
Not necessarily. If folks, I shared the survey link in the chat. Okay, let me know if you still don't see it. please give feedback to Nicole. Again, she knows these how to collect quality data and how to get feedback. So please again just give her a nice feedback, nice in the sense of genuine feedback, so that this talk can improve, or you can focus more on the interesting points. So yeah, it should take Nicole, what would you say, like a couple of minutes?
Yeah, it's just a few questions.
Yeah, so awesome. And then if you want to leave, you can leave, but we will be staying a little bit longer, okay?
So I have a question here.
Oh, hang on. Sorry, there was.
Yeah, just a 1 second. So we have another question first, but we can go back to your question, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so shall I go ahead?
Thanks, guys.
No.
Okay, so the
Wait,
question's about the
Rohit,
certification.
just give a second. So first, Nico will address the Ryan's question, and then we will come back to you, okay?
Okay.
Ryan, do you mind repeating your question?
I didn't fully ask it. I just said I had a question about the cert. In terms of like just study time and how much it matters, what's your opinion?
Oh, yeah. So two separate questions. Like, how long does it take to study? And then, is it like, does it
Is it
matter?
worth it? No, because some of them it is when you're getting started, but not necessarily later on.
Yeah. Well, I think this one's kind of the reverse. So I think it's like more useful later on because, as I mentioned, I'm going to address the second part of your question first. So it's really helpful if you are a chief data officer to know the end-to-end flow of data. And like if you're a data scientist, it's useful to know the end-to-end flow of data as well, because it changes you from just being a consumer of that data to being like more empowered and being able to advocate for the data policies that will make your job better. But like you pointed out, like it's not that helpful if you're starting out because people aren't going to come to you and like expect you to write the data governance policy for the organization. But if you're the CDO, a chief data officer, or a CIO, the chief information officer, like you would be doing that, or like you'd be reviewing what someone else does. You'll be working on that team, whatever. So candidly, there is only a small number of jobs that specifically mention, or job postings that specifically mention CDMP. So this is from like 2 years ago, and I would guesstimate that probably it's over 200 jobs now. But if you compare that to the total number of data jobs in the US, like it's very small. However, there is a true like quality over quantity scenario happening here where like maybe there's not a lot of jobs, but to people in the know, like this certification is really valuable. And I mean, I like legitimately, like I put together this presentation because I like really think this stuff is helpful for all of us to just know. And the okay, so to answer your second question, like how hard is it to get this exam? Like both quantitatively, like in terms of hours, I would say if you devote 50 to 70 hours total, that should be sufficient. And you can read this book fairly quickly. There are 14 chapters, like each one corresponding to one of the parts of the pyramid, and they're all structured the same way. So once you get used to the flow, you can like get pretty effective in your studying. I should have said this up front because one of the major benefits of this exam is it's open book. So not only do you like you'll have the, what am I trying to say? You'll have the book sitting beside you. So you just need to be familiar enough with the concepts to be able to find them quickly within the time limit of the test, which is 90 minutes, and answer the questions, score above an 80%. And you'll have the benefit of like this enhanced data strategy knowledge as well as the benefit to your resume.
So, Nico, we have Wipe Now's question, and then Jessica has a question too. But I want you to also give a little, like a very quick, if you don't mind, the logistics of taking this exam.
Do I have a slide on that? Oops, sorry. I just clicked a link. I believe there's a slide.
Okay. Oh no, this is the calendar.
Here it is.